What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome back to today's tier video where we're continuing our positional rankings. And today we're taking a look at the tight ends in the National Football League. We have essentially all 32 team starters. Unless you didn't really have a starter, then some teams doubled up. Like we have 2 Baltimore Ravens, we have 2 Indianapolis Colts, we have 2 Philadelphia Eagles, couple, I think that's actually it for all the doubles. Oh, and 2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As we get ready to go through this list. And as per usual, we got to start off with the parameters. Who's going in S tier? Who's going in the added F tier to kind of get you an idea of where we're going to go. So at S tier, I'm going to go with probably almost unanimously regarded as the top tight end in the National Football League in Travis Kelce. Now that there's no more Gronkowski, he's the most complete tight end in the National Football League. He's a great receiver. He also is not a liability when it comes to the blocking game, which, so many tight ends in today's era are becoming less and less of a complete, well-rounded tight end and more so a glorified wide receiver at said position. Then to go F tier, we'll put Hayden Hurst here. Hayden Hurst, first-round pick for the Baltimore Ravens, got outplayed by another Baltimore Raven, who I'm actually going to slide up here just in the D tier in Mark Andrews. We all know the meme right now, the Baltimore Ravens just like to continually draft tight ends. And I mean, at least I've hit on them. And if Hayden Hurst can develop and stay on the field and get some consistency, even though there is a little bit of age concern now, they're going to have really nice 2 tight end tandem, very similar to, say, the Philadelphia Eagles or maybe the Indianapolis Colts, depending on how you really rate the tight end tandems around the league. So from that, let's go here. We got Cam Brate. And you know what? For Cam Brate, I'm gonna put him in D. I'm gonna put him in D tier. It's weird. It's like literally all he does is catch red zone touchdowns from Jameis Winston. Like I don't even think his touchdown numbers were that great when Ryan Fitzpatrick was in at quarterback. So like because you're so dependent on Jameis Winston, I understand that you are a productive tight end, at least for touchdowns. But other than that, what does he offer that offense? And I mean, in comparison, I think the better of the 2 tight ends is you just got to look here at O.J. Howard. I'm going to put O.J. Howard up into C tier. I know he grades out fairly well for Pro Football Focus when it comes to his blocking, and he is a very good athlete. And if he could skip back from that injury, rebound nicely, I mean, he's going to be a great fit in that Bruce Arians offense. We'll put him right along there into C tier. We got Trey Burton of the Chicago Bears. And I'm going to put Trey, I think he's a fringe C to B, but for right now, we'll put him C tier. Not as productive as a season as I was hoping. I'm pulling for him, man. Obviously, the Philly special. He's an Eagle legend for what he did during that Super Bowl. And I think he's only going to get better, and now that he's more familiar into Matt Nagy's offense. I mean, he is a little bit handicapped because Mitchell Trubisky is such an inconsistent quarterback at this point, but I think he's definitely a tweener between C and B, and I wouldn't be surprised if we, came back halfway point of the regular season, if he was up into B tier. He has that potential. All right, we got Charles Clay here, and he's just regret. I mean, he hasn't been that good since really had like one good year with the Buffalo Bills. He's been regressing steadily. Now he's in Arizona. I mean, is he even the start? Look, there's a logjam of tight ends in there. You got Jermaine Gresham still there, old man. You got Ricky Seals-Jones, who literally is a converted wide receiver that is now playing tight end. So maybe it's a little bit harsh on Charles Clay. He's just bang on average at anything. He was an H-back, I think, at Tulsa. So, I mean, he's a decent blocker. He can catch, but the production just hasn't been there the last couple seasons, and he's been below average, maybe would even be a fair surmise of his play. Next up, we got Jared Cook. I'm going to put, actually, Jared Cook. We'll put Jared Cook in B tier. I think he's been underrated. He was like the number 1 receiving threat on the Oakland Raiders last season. I mean, even before that, he had that huge play in the playoffs, had some big-time plays for the Green Bay Packers. I think he's one of the most underrated tight ends in the National Football League. And while, yes, he was almost like the beginning of like the whole glorified wide receiver playing tight end stuff because he was super athletic. I think North Carolina. Could be wrong. I'm not 100% confident on where he went to school, but I do remember he was like a burner, a little bit undersized of a tight end, and he's kind of played like that ever since he's been in the National Football League. But last year coming off, it must have been a career year last year with the Raiders. He is now in New Orleans, so he might even put up even better numbers. So stop sleeping on Jared Cook. We got Jack Doyle here. I'm actually going to put Jack Doyle in C tier. He has decent receiving numbers, less so when Eric Ebron kind of took his shine a little bit last year in Indy, but I know he grades out really well for run blocking and Pro Football Focus and stuff like that, so he is a complete tight end, so we'll put him as a solid C tier. His partner in crime, Eric Ebron, because of last season, you can't ignore 13 touchdowns. Was it a fluke? I mean, maybe, but I don't really know how you fluke your way into getting 13 receiving touchdowns. Maybe he's finally getting into that potential as a first-round pick, which he was when the Detroit Lions selected him a couple years ago. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to maybe not reach the levels that he did last season of 13 touchdowns, but I'm going to give the fact that he is going to be a legit top 10 tight end entering next season, and why would we doubt otherwise that he won't be able to keep up that level of play? He's a great quarterback throwing the ball, and he's in a very tight end focused system, if you will. Frank Reich, I mean, coming from Philadelphia, Zach Ertz, that Ebron is kind of his Zach Ertz. Next up, we have Tyler Eifert, and as much as this pains me to say, he's gonna have to go in D tier when he's healthy. I mean, 2 years ago, was it 2 years or 3 years ago? He's been hurt so much. He was lethal with Andy Dalton in the red zone. He might have been even debatably A tier, A, B tier, somewhere in that range, but literally injury prone. He's made of glass. So until he can string together, 10, 12, 13 games in a season at minimum, his availability is such a red flag. I had to put him at D tier, but I think if he can get healthy, if he gets get in rhythm and get some good chemistry with Andy Dalton, could probably be C or as easily as B tier if we were to revise this halfway through the year. Next up, we get Evan Engram. I'm going to put Evan Engram in C tier. He's a little bit of a tweener. He literally is a wide receiver, I think, playing the tight end position. His combine numbers are ridiculous. He is like one of the smallest tight ends in the National Football League. Was like 6'3", 225. But I've been a big fan of him since Ole Miss. And even though he's on the Giants, and I should be a little bit biased, he's not a complete tight end. That's always going to kind of go against him when we're really ranking him against some of these other guys. But I mean, he is productive, so I feel like C tier is a great spot with some of these guys, like I say, Trey Burton, who's a receiving tight end as well. Moving on, we have Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is going S tier. I think he was S tier before Gronk. He's now, with Gronk gone, easily the second best tight end in the National Football League. And you know what? A lot of people like to shit on him for his run blocking. It's actually not that bad. It's not amazing. It's not a strength of his game, but he wasn't that bad last season. He wasn't a liability. He was able to chip block and help the occasional time. Luckily enough for the Philadelphia Eagles, we don't usually need to double team when you have Jason Peters and Lane Johnson as your tackles, but he improved from that game. But in terms of route running, in terms of hands, I think he's the best route running and best hands for any tight end in the National Football League. So easily putting him into S tier. Looking at some of the rookies, we got Noah Fant, and I've been putting all the rookies for all my videos in F tier, but I think the tight end class was so strong this year, I'm actually going to bump him up into D. I mean, Noah Fant is like a lesser version of Evan Engram in terms of a receiver, but he's also almost as good as an athlete, a much better blocker, and like 20 pounds heavier. So we're actually going to, jet him up here into the D tier and kind of fast track him, because I do think the two big rookie tight ends this season are going to hit the ground running and immerse themselves right away as probably top 15, top 20 tight ends within the first couple weeks. We have Mike Gesicki from the Miami Dolphins, still kind of figuring things out there, so I'll put him as an F tier. We have Dallas Goddard of the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll go D tier. Really, really underrated. He was an excellent blocker for us last season. And you throw in the fact that he is like, if you Google any of his college highlights, he was a rookie last year. Looked like Odell Beckham Jr. He has outrageous, spectacular catch if we're trying to relate it back into Madden. And I think Philadelphia is going to run a lot of 12-man personnel this upcoming season. You're going to see a lot of Dallas Goddard next season. And you're going to really realize just how good and why I think, biasly, give me 8 weeks next season, you're going to agree that Philadelphia has the best 1-2 punch at tight end in the National Football League. Next up, we got Jimmy Graham. We'll put him C tier. He's literally, I would like to think, fringe between D and C at this point. He's a shadow of him for himself. He's getting up there in age a little bit. So many people thought that when the Green Bay Packers gave up a lot to get him from the New Orleans Saints, that, he'd be, it wasn't New Orleans Saints, it was Seattle. They got him from Seattle. Retract that. I'm still thinking too back in the fast. They got him from Seattle, and he really hasn't lived up to expectations. And so many people wanted the Green Bay Packers to draft a Noah Fant or TJ Hawkinson in the draft because Jimmy Graham was not cutting it. So while he can be productive, while he can be streaky at this point in his career, he is a low C tier tight end for me. Next up, we got Hunter Henry. I'm going to put him in B tier. He very well might be A tier in terms of talent, but unfortunately the injury bug has struck him just a little bit, and we haven't seen him as the guy in LA. The last time that he was fully healthy, Antonio Gates was still in town. So I think, now that he's 100% healthy, definitely will be able to immerse himself and solidify himself as a legit tight end this upcoming season. Next up, we have Chris Herndon from the Jets. I'm going to put him in D tier. I liked him coming out of the U, and he was really productive last season with the New York Jets. Really good, underrated rookie season. I think he should be able to build upon that as he is established as the safety net for Sam Darnold in that offense. Things should only get easier with Adam Gase. We got Higbee from the Rams. We'll just put him F tier. He's a solid tight end. I mean, who is really their starter between him and Gerald Everett? I only just used one for the sake of this video. Generally speaking, they're solid, but tight ends are not the strength of that Rams offense. We have TJ Hawkinson, much like Noah Fant. I'm just going to kind of jettison him up into the D tier. I think he's that damn good. Give him half the season. He's going to emerge himself as a top 15 tight end. We have Austin Hooper here. He's going to be a, medium to high C tier tight end. Good receiver. Doesn't really offer much beyond that. He's the kind of guy that'll be able to get, 500-600 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns every single season, but not a prolific tight end by any means, but solid, a good starter for the Atlanta Falcons, and definitely solidifies that position for them on the depth chart. I mean, I don't think they're going to have to ever look really to improve the tight end spot. He can have a big game here or there, but ultimately, he has his limitations. We have George Kittle. I'm actually going to put George Kittle in S tier. I have to respect that year that he just had, and while the touchdowns were a little bit off, you almost want to say the yards, and he had big games here and there. But look at the quarterback scenario. It was a revolving door at quarterback last year. You had Jimmy Garoppolo, you had Beathard, and then you had Nick Mullins. Like the fact that he was able to put up that kind of year with that rotating quarterback trio to the injury and doing to just obviously straight up rotation between Mullins and Beathard. I think it's really remarkable the kind of year that he had, and he's a good blocker. So I think absolutely he should be considered the elite of the elite S tier, even if it's only 1 year wonder. We have Dawson Knox. I actually kind of like him as a whole lot of upside. Mystery man out of Ole Miss. Not a lot of production there, but I think he's a great fit for the Buffalo Bills. We also have Foster Moreau for the Raiders. I think he's going to emerge very quickly as the best tight end on the Raiders roster, as he has big shoes to fill, taking over for Jared Cook. We have David Njoku. I'm going to put him C tier. Great athlete. I think he'll only be able to get stronger and better and more involved in that offense. A guy like Odell should open things up for him. While he might see less targets, it should be easier for him to make more plays with limited catches. We have Greg Olson. I'm actually going to put Greg Olson in A tier. He would be S tier, but because of the injuries, the fact for the last 2 years he's struggled to stay on the field, he's got to get knocked down into A tier. But when on the field, when healthy, he's as complete as a tight end in the National Football League. And literally the only reason why he's not S tier for me is because he's getting up there in age a little bit, and he has struggled with injuries. Next up, we have Jordan Reed. If Ingram's in C, Jordan Reed has to go in C. I think obviously he's always been between a rock and a hard place for me, because as a Gator fan, in terms of talent, he's probably B tier. He's not much of a blocker, but he's a tremendous receiver, great safety net. But injuries, he's made of glass. He is literally like the equivalent of Tyler Eifert. Like, he just cannot stay healthy. You're gonna be lucky to get 10 games a season from him. He has lots of concussion issues. So he has to go C tier. As much as, C4's an Eagle fan, he's going to crap all over the Redskins. I like Jordan Reed. And I think if I was doing pure talent, he's probably a B-A tweener, somewhere in that range. But he's so injury prone, man. He's going to have to go in as a high C tier tight end right now. If he can stay healthy, if we're doing this 8 weeks in next season, and he's played a full 8 games, he's probably at that point has like 500 yards, 5-6 touchdowns maybe. Then we can start talking about B and A. But I need to see him stay healthy and stay on the field. We have Kyle Rudolph for the Minnesota Vikings. I'll put him C tier. Just a solid tight end to above average, good blocker, can have the occasional big game. He's just well-rounded. But the fact that he's been on the trade block, is he going to New England? What's going on there? Clearly, Viking fans do tend to overrate him just a little bit, but he is a really good tight end. So he's, a high C tier tight end. Vance McDonald, we'll put him D tier outside of He's a boomer bust style of tight end. Obviously, he has that huge stiff arm over Chris Conte last year in the Steelers-Bucks game. And he have a couple big runs here and there, but the consistency wasn't quite there enough. He's going to be the guy, though, next year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. No more Jesse James kind of eating their snaps. So they're going with him after things didn't really work out for the 49ers. So, maybe, again, revisit this. He could get up into C tier, but for the time being, he's a solid D. We got Delanie Walker. I'm going to put Delanie Walker into A tier. Again, kind of like Greg Olson. He's getting up there in age, had a bad, ugly injury last season, but for the most part, he has been healthy, he has been reliable, and been a big part, if not the most explosive playmaker on that Titans offense for the last 3-4 years, somewhere in that territory. So while he has struggled with injuries and getting up there in age a little bit, he's like both these guys are really low A tiers. I still think you got to put respect on their name. We have Ben Watson. We'll put Ben Watson C tier. Good receiver coming out of retirement, going back to the New England Patriots. I think he was on the Saints last year. I mean, at his age, he's probably a cusp D to C tier. But we'll put the benefit of the doubt that, he'll be a nice productive receiver for the New England Patriots. But, I mean, tamper your expectations. He's not going to be Gronk. And then we got Jason Witten. I mean, I'm kind of going from this with the last time. We probably have to put him as a low B tier. Last time we saw him on the field, he's so complete. He's so slow. He's so old. But he's always open on third down. I think the same thing's going to happen this year. He's going to, he retired and he should be dusty and rusty and have all that. He shouldn't be good, and he's got to get open on third down. You just know that's going to happen with Jason Witten. It's probably going to happen against the Eagles. I'm going to be very, very frustrated. So as much as it pains me, and how old is he now? 41. He's got to go in B tier because he's still always going to be wide open on third down. He still has elite route running. He's a great blocker and still a really good tight end. I mean, there's other tight ends. Like I said, if Gronk, another guy retired, he'd probably be S tier. You could look at who else is retired at tight end. I feel like there's another one I'm just missing. Either way, those are my tight end tiers. I think that's pretty universal. Let's see. What tier will people bitch about the most? I think you'll see a lot of people with Jordan Reed, Kyle Rudolph, and Evan Engram. I think those are going to be the three that people are going to be really salty about. That's the way it is. That's the way it is, people. These guys here at C tier, those are good. Like, it's rookies and busts and guys that have upside. D are guys that are trending in the right direction, or they're never going to get much lower, like Cameron Brate. C tier is good tight ends. B tier is legit tight ends. A tier is fringe elite, and S is elite. And I think that this is a pretty healthy tier list ranking. But I'm sure you guys let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace